Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be repotting this elm tree. I dug this elm up from the backyard and I think it's about 5, maybe 6 years old now. It's full of weeds in this pot, and the only way to get these weeds out really is to change the soil, bare root the tree and change the soil. These weeds are really hard to get out. Here is a look at the tree. So the trunk has a lot of character, a lot of taper. I'm starting to develop the upper canopy on it now. So let's get it out of the pot and see what the roots look like today. Okay. Well, let's see if it'll pop out. Here it comes. There we go. So let's look at the root system. Lots of roots in there. It doesn't look like they're active yet, which is good. The buds are just starting to swell on the tree, so it's a good time to repot it. I'll begin raking out the soil from the roots. So I will be bare rooting it today, changing the soil completely and pruning up the roots. The roots on elms can get pretty wild looking, so it takes a lot of root pruning to get a nice radial root base on them, generally speaking. So we'll see what they're looking like. Yeah, these weeds, they get a real mat of roots, and they're very hard to pull out. You pull them out, and then a couple of weeks later they're growing again, and it's just a never-ending battle. So I'll work away, bare rooting the tree, and I'll wash the root system, and we'll come back and do the root pruning. That'll be really exciting. I love root pruning. I love pruning in general. I like pruning the tops of trees. I like pruning the roots. It's always fun because every time you prune them, you make progress. And that's what I like in bonsai, is seeing trees develop. It's kind of the fun of bonsai, is the long-term development of your trees, seeing them get better and better with time. That's the goal anyway. I mean, sometimes you go backwards a bit. Things don't work out. But the goal is to make progress with your trees. So I would say this tree, it wasn't totally root bound, but there's a lot of roots that have been circling around the pot. So it definitely needed a root pruning to get the roots back on track. I can see a root here that's not a very radial direction. So there's definitely some correction work I can do on the root system. Here is a look at the root system of the elm. So you can see there's no roots growing out the bottom of the tree. And the radial roots are, there's some gaps here. And most of the roots have kind of taken the shape of the bottom of the pot. They've grown really, really long. So just like branches on your tree, you want to prune these long roots back to get subdividing closer to the trunk line of the tree. I can see a double root here. There's one on the top here and one down lower. So I'll have to sort that out. Yes, it's grown really well, this tree. Lots of roots, but they're very far out, so I've got to prune it back and get more finer roots subdividing closer to the trunk line. So I am going to begin the root pruning now. I'm going to take this one off here, and I'll be cutting all this, bird's nest of roots off. This lower one I'm going to cut here, and these are just rough cuts to get rid of this tangled mess of roots. I won't be using these roots. So I'm just cutting away all these roots that wrapped around. Kind of separating the tree from this mess, this nightmare on Elm Street. Okay, so that's got the tree separated from this. The circling roots from the pot, so I'll put that in the compost pile. So my first step, I'm going to comb the root system out, get it all untangled. Some of these roots are quite matted here. And it's good to clean these matted sections out because they just, stop water getting into the root system, and it just kind of clogs it up. Okay, I think it's combed out pretty good. So that's what I'm dealing with, this root system. So you can see there's not a lot of roots close to the trunk line. So I'll be pruning these roots back quite hard. And elms, because they grow well from cuttings, generally trees that grow easily from cuttings, you can root prune them quite hard. So here I go with the root pruning. So I'm after a nice flowing root base. So this root, I have a lot of subdividing here, so I'm going to prune it back to here. This one back to here. Some of these long ones can be pruned back. And I always say, the roots are like the branches on your tree. You want short internodes between the roots subdividing. So you can see this one's very long without any subroots coming off of it. So it has to get pruned back quite hard. So I will come back to here, like that. And my goal is to generate more roots coming off. So I get tighter internodes on the root system, more subdivision. I'll prune some of these longer roots back here, here. There's a root here that's a little high in the root plane. You can see it comes out from up here and my root plane's down lower, so I'm going to take that one off totally. So that one comes out. Now, over here, I've got that double root. I've got an upper root, which I like, and then a lower one. So I'm going to prune the lower one off. And I will use my branch pruners for that one. So here it comes. It's coming right off. Like that. So that one is gone. And then this root, the one that was above it, it's fairly radial. It's not too bad. I have some subdividing here, so I'm going to prune this part of it off, keeping my roots kind of flowing out, just like the branches of your tree. This one's a little long, prune that one back. This one's a little long, all my subdivision is out here, so I want to prune it back to here. There's a few long ones here I can prune back. So that's got that root cleaned up. This one's a little long, I'll prune that one back. Now, over on this side, I've got some fine roots here, and this one is not radial at all. It's coming off 90 degrees to this root. So I have two choices. I can prune it off totally, or I can prune it off shorter, hoping to get something coming out this direction. So I'll do that. Get rid of that. So hopefully something will come out in a radial direction from that root. There's nothing here, but you know, I'm not one for grafting or anything. I just like to work with what the tree gives you. So here I've got a pom-pom root. It's been a big root. I've pruned it off hard and then it's subdivided. So I need to pick my best roots, and I like, just like the branches of your tree, I like the roots to divide from 1 to 2, and then 2 to 4, 4 to 8, and so on. So this root here is in a radial direction, which is nice. This one I don't like so much, so I'm going to prune the upper one off. And then these roots are getting off radial, so I'll just keep these 2. So these ones will come off, and then I'll prune these ones back a little shorter, like that. So now it divides from 1 to 2, and they're quite radial. Then we're coming around over here, and there's quite a lot of roots in this area. This one is definitely not radial. It doesn't flow outwards, so I'm pruning that one off. Like that. And then I just want to do a little cleanup in that area, get some of that soil out to see what's going on here. Okay. So there's a root here that's not too bad. This one's not bad, but it's getting a little... Here's the radial direction. This one's a bit high, so I'm pruning that part of the root off, keeping the nice flowing roots. I've got a root here that's crossing underneath. I'll get rid of that. Where does it start from? It starts way over here. So that comes off. This root, again, you know, I like it dividing from 1 to 2 if possible. This is a nice radial root. I'll prune the upper part off here. Prune this one back shorter. This one shorter. This one shorter. This one shorter. So there's quite a lot of roots coming from here. And again, you know, I always pick my best roots. So I think this root's been pruned off and it subdivides. There's a bit of a stub I can clean up. Like that. I'll keep this part. And it's a little crowded here, so I'll clean this one out. And I'll take this part off. Again, just to, so it's not so crowded in that area. And then the one growing out the bottom here, I don't want to develop that, so I'm taking it off. I would rather these other ones develop. And that brings us back around, so the next step is just to prune off these long ones. Prune them back. There's one growing out the bottom here I can take off. Reduce that one. This one's kind of growing up, but maybe I'll take it off here. There's a root growing underneath it there that'll develop into the root leader. These ones are a little long here. Underneath there's one growing straight down here I can prune back, and here. And I think that's it for the root pruning. I'll prune these ones back a little harder. Yeah, I think that's, you know, as good as I can get this root system with this repotting. There's enough roots on it that the tree should do quite well. It's compact, fairly radial. It's not a bad looking root system. So it's time to plant the tree. I'm just having a look at the pot. I'm wondering, do I need a different pot? I think, you know, it could use a slightly larger pot. You can see the roots are kind of, It'll grow against the sides of the pot. So I'll look around. I'll see if I have a, maybe an oval pot or something to grow the tree in. I have found a pot that's just a little bit bigger. It'll fit the root system nicely. It's a, a production bonsai pot. It does have a stamp on the bottom. I don't know. It says made in, what does that say? It says made in China. Okay. So it's a Chinese pot. There's a chip in the lip here. It's not, a great pot, but it's not a bad looking one either. So that's the pot I'll put the elm in. So I'll get some drainage screens in the bottom of the pot. There's 2 holes like that. And I'll get a base layer of soil in the pot. I think that's a good height to plant the tree on. Okay, so the front of the tree, this has got like that scar where the original trunk died off and it kind of grew a new trunk around it. I think it's the most interesting part of the tree. So I'm going to make that the front, and the root base looks quite nice from this view too. So I'll make sure my roots are positioned nicely in the pot here, getting them untangled. I think that looks good, and I'll add some soil. So the height in the pot it's a little low. I'll raise it a bit, and I think I could maybe move it over to the right hand side a bit. So maybe about here. And I'll just double check before I water the tree that I like the position in the pot. So let's do that now. Here's a look at the tree in the pot. I think it could be tilted towards me just a little bit. And I think the position is okay. I mean, this tree's not ready for any shows or anything like that, so it's just a stage in its training. The tree feels nice and firm in the pot. Let me just take another look from the front. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think it'll grow quite nicely for the next few years. Okay, the tree is all watered. It feels good taking care of the tree, setting it up for the next couple of years to grow. I'll rotate the tree around so we can see it from all angles. So here's the front, coming around to the right hand side, to the back, the left hand side, and back to the front. I think this little elm has a lot of potential to grow into a nice bonsai in the future. So that is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.